Good evening, everyone. Sir Reds here, and I'm back at my Facebook profile, which will also be re-uploaded and rebroadcasted on our official YouTube channel at ISF Media. So, if you wanna watch all of my previous videos, because Facebook deletes it after a month, if you wanna watch it, you can go back to my, or you can just go to my YouTube channel and you can find it there. All of my videos, my broadcasts, my tutorials, my reactions on different programs and policies of DepEd, and other stuff that may possibly help you in your endeavor as a public school teacher here in the Philippines are all found on my YouTube channel. So please like and subscribe. So as I was saying, as I posted on my Facebook here around morning yata yun eh. Nung pinost ko po na I will be broadcasting tonight regarding the orientation workshop on the different policy reforms of DepEd, which will be implemented starting this coming school year 2026-2027. So if you were one of those who had the opportunity to join the said to join the said orientation, which was also broadcasted in YouTube, you may be among those who must have a lot of questions and somewhat disappointed as well, because let's face it, YouTube is not the right platform or avenue to conduct orientations or even short workshops wherein you have to interact with yourselves, if you're a group, with the resource persons that are only available virtually. Kasi kapag sinabi mong workshop, as workshop per se, kailangan makita ng resource person yung output mo. So may activity. Hindi naman nila nakikita yung output natin. So ano yun? Tayo lang din. Self-check. Anyway, aside from the platform being not the right avenue to conduct said workshop, yung buong content, well, hindi ko kasi matansya. Nilabas pa naman yung DepEd Order number 6, Series of 2026, which somewhat restricts or limits what contents teacher vloggers like myself can share to the social network community. But hello, first, sidetrack muna tayo ha. First, this is my personal profile. This is my personal Facebook account. Second, real talk itong nilalabas natin. Yung mga binibitaw nating mga salita dito are not purely because we hate DepEd or we hate certain policies that are being implemented, simply because we do not agree totally with the overall comprehensive possibilities that might affect not just the learners but the teachers who are considered as frontliners. Tayo yung nasa harap in implementing said policies. So yeah, it's not just about critiquing, it's also providing feedback. Because, as I said in my previous broadcasts, we tried the old school way. We tried sending them emails. We tried providing them with our sentiments on what we think the current policies that are being released, how it would affect us as those who are in the grassroots, those who are the implementing entities, individuals. Because tayo yung una eh. We are the first representatives of these said policies. So, tayo yung unang makikita ng mga tao na magpapatupad, na tatayo, na magmamanifest ng mga pulisiyang inilalabas nila sa bawat pagkakataon na sa tingin nila kailangang magkaroon ng pagbabago. Pero hindi lahat ng pagbabago ay kailangang baguhin. Mali. Hindi lahat ng pamamaraan ay kailangang baguhin ng tinatawag nilang pagbabago. Ika nga, you do not fix something that is already working. You may try to improve it, but not totally fix it. Because you can only fix something when there is really something wrong with it. Nung pinag-usapan ng tri-term, and I also discussed this previously, when the tri-term was discussed, as I said, ang kanilang pag-present nito sa atin, to everyone, both DepEd employees and non-DepEd employees alike, is that congested ang school year with different programs and activities that somewhat distracts, disturbs, or even affects the teaching and learning delivery sequences that are being conducted in a particular school year. Having said that, kailangan daw magkaroon ng pababago sa school calendar. For how many decades the school calendar is as it is? Wala namang mali sa school calendar eh. What changed? What changed are actually the number of programs being implemented that actually affects the teaching and learning delivery. Ang daming programang ipinapatupad na kadalasan apektado rin ng guro. So what do we expect? Maapektuhan talaga yung teaching and learning delivery. So bakit babaguhin yung calendar? Baka kailangan natin baguhin yung mga programa. As I said previously as well, kung tumutulo ang ceiling dahil may butas ang bubong, huwag mong i-repair yung ceiling. I-repair mo yung bubong. Walang kasalanan yung ceiling. Ngayon, pasok tayo dun sa mga reforms na sinasabi nila. Unang-una, kasi napag-usapan ko, I've already discussed the tri-term, what I think about it, why I believe na marami yung problema. One thing na hindi ko nabanggit regarding the tri-term that hindi rin nila sinagot nung tinanong ko doon, siguro hindi nila nabasa o sadyang hindi binasa, hindi ko rin alam kung ano ba talaga ang purpose talaga ng orientation kanina, ano ba talaga yung primary objective nun. Kasi kung yung primary objective nun is para turuan tayo kung ano yung reforms ng policy, para saan siya at paano siya i-implement, hindi naman yung natupad. Hindi naman yung na-achieve talaga eh. So, ano yun, parang FYI lang for your information. If yun lang yung objective, then yes, na-achieve nila yun. Pero as far as the nitty-gritty, the essence of these so-called reforms are concerned, hindi siya na fully justify. Kaya medyo... But anyway, as I said, tri-term, nabanggit yun kanina, na the tri-term will be implemented coming this school year. So from this coming June, next month, magsisimula na ang tri-term. There will be first term, second term, and third term. For each term, there will be series of assessments that will be conducted, both formative and summative. However, private schools will have the discretion to implement the tri-term or not. So, yun. Unang tanong agad dun, bakit may discretion sa private school? So, sasabihin nila, kasi nga sa DepEd Order number 88 series of 2010, merong independence, sense of liberty and democracy or whatever you call it, yung mga private school kasi private nga sila, hindi sila talaga under the jurisdiction of the Department of Education. Okay, is it really the reason, or are we just preventing them to feel like we are meddling with how they will be implementing the tuition fees? Kasi kapag 4 quarters naman talaga from time immemorial siguro, 4 quarters naman talaga ang teaching and learning delivery ng DepEd at saka ng private schools. So syempre mayroong tuition fees. For every quarter, mayroong quarterly exams. Kapag mayroong quarterly exams, mayroong kailangan bayaran. So syempre kung babawasan mo yung 4 na exam nila, mababawasan din yung tuitions nila. Kasi from 4 to 3, di ba? Baka yun ang dahilan. Hindi natin alam. I'm just throwing it out. Baka isa yan sa dahilan. But we'll never know. Bakit ako may problema doon? Kasi kapag lilipat yung batang yun from private school to public school, example, nawala ng trabaho yung tatay, yung breadwinner ng family. Also, syempre, wala na siyang pambayad sa private school, lilipat siya sa public school in the middle of the school year. So, 4 quarters sila dun, lilipat ng public school, 3 terms lang. 4 terms versus 3 terms. Anong mangyayari? Kapag in the middle of the second and third quarter lilipat yung bata, may grade ang bata ng first and second quarter. Pagdating sa public school, 3 terms tayo, saan mo ilalagay yung grade, dalawang grade niya? Huwag mo sabihin, gagawin mong average ng first and second, yun yung maging grade ng first term. Kalokohan yun. Kasi first, second, third, and fourth, 25 yan. 25%, 25%, 25%, 25%. Kaya nga siya quarter. First quarter, second quarter, kasi quarter. Quarter means 25%. So kung dalawang 25%, ilan yun? 1/2. 50%. Ito, 50% to. So kung 50% yan, i-average mo yung dalawang quarter, kukunin mo siya, yun yung magiging grade ng first term. First term is 1/3. That's 33% only. Saang lupalop ng mundo naging equal ang 1/3 tsaka 1/2? O kaninong problema yun? Problema na naman yun ni public school teacher. Because let's face it, rare. It is quite rare that a public school student will transfer to a private school within the middle of the school year. Most often than not, it's the other way around. It's from private schools transferring to public schools. And when that happens, it's gonna be a problem again, a headache again. For whom? Not for the school heads, but for the teachers who will be receiving them. And then who will be identifying what grade will I be giving this student right now? He has a first and second quarter. I'm already on the middle or in between the first and second quarter. How will I compute this? Hindi yung diniscuss kanina. Basta ang sinabi lang, private schools will have the discretion to implement the tri-term or not. But they are encouraged. Encouraged. Pasok tayo doon sa second aspect ng pinag-discuss nila kanina. Sabi nila, babaguhin na yung grading system. There will be written works. Sorry, kasi gusto kong kunin sana yung clips pero yung live broadcast kanina is not recorded. It was just live stream. Hindi siya pwedeng i-replay. Hindi ko nakuha yung Pakita ko sana. Pero nasabi kanina, it was said a while ago that assessments, the grading system will be from the original written works, performance tasks, and quarterly assessments. Mababago yung bawat weight nitong tatlo. Wherein the performance tasks will be focused on giving a higher weight or a heavier weight in terms of the total grade na makukuha ng bata. 50% nga eh. Yung performance task magiging 50% na. Maglalaro itong dalawa, itong written works, tsaka itong bago, sa 20 and 30%. Most often, 30% itong pangatlo. Yung written works nasa 20%. Okay now. Anong pagbabago doon? Itong written works, performance task, more or less pareho pa rin. More or less. I'm not saying pareho talaga. Merong changes sa definition nila kung ano ang written works and performance task eh. From DepEd Order number 8 before, binago nila yung parang yung definition niya. Ang nabago talaga itong tinatawag nating quarterly assessment. Anong pagbabago ng quarterly assessment? They were saying na yung quarterly assessment, originally, 4 na beses daw ina-administer sa isang buong taon. Ngayon daw, kasi tri-term na, isang beses na lang. Ang tawag nila doon, ST and TE. Ano yung ST and TE? ST, summative test. TE, term examination. So, ang system niya, merong 2 summative tests at isang term examination for every term. So, kung 2 summative test, isang term examination for every term times 3, ilan yun? 9! 9! Eh, yung quarterly assessment ng DepEd Order number 8, 4! Paano nangyaring mas kukunti na lang ngayon? Paano naging 4 is greater than 9? Paano yun? Kasi nga daw sasabihin nila, Sir, this is their explanation. Summative tests are done after the first 15 days of the instructional block. The second summative test will be done on the second 15th day. So mga nasa 32nd day ng instructional block. And then, by the end of the term, magkakaroon ng term examination. O edi ang nangyari, parang nung sa college. Familiar kayo doon sa prelims, midterms, finals? Yun din yun eh. Binagod nyo lang yung yung mechanics niya. Yun din yun. The only difference is that there is this notion sa side comment kanina that summative tests must not be greater than half of the total term examination. Number of items. So the number of, for example, the number of items for a particular grade is 40, yung term examination niya. Yung summative test, nasa 20 items lang. O sige, sabihin natin 20 items ang isang summative test. Ang pangalawang summative test, 20 items din. That's 40 already. Term examination, 40 items test. 80 items na lahat. And that all constitute 30% of the grade sa bata. Sa original na DepEd Order number 8, usually ang key stage 2 nasa 40 item test lang. Ang quarterly assessment niya. Dito magiging 80. So sasabihin nyo, mas magiging magaan yung trabaho ng teacher this time around. Paano nangyari yun? Nakalagay pa talaga doon sa disciplination nila kanina that all assessments must be teacher-made. So, anong mangyayari ngayon? Yung mga division-wide standardized tests are no longer applicable. Kasi meron ng localized instruction and localized assessment. Kasi yun yung focus ng SRO, yung ESRU. Kung familiar kayo sa ESRU, yan yung parang nasa likod yan siya ng philosophy ni Vygotsky. Yung kay Vygotsky, yung umbrella, itong ESRU, isa yan siya sa mga elements under sa approach ni Vygotsky's zone of proximal development. We try to identify, we try to recognize, and we try to acknowledge how students process different ways on answering different types of questions in order to show their competence. Kung nakuha ba talaga nila yung competency. So ang trabaho ni teacher, iintindihin niya ngayon ano ang naging thought processes nitong batang ito, bakit yung sagot niya sa tanong na 10 times 2 ay naging 12. So ngayon, titingnan ni teacher, kasi yung ginawa niya, imbis minultiply niya yung dalawang number, yung 10 at saka 2, nag-addition siya. So, most likely, the student has a problem in identifying the symbol of multiplication and the symbol of addition. So, yun yung isang application ng ESRU. I-identify ni teacher na this student has that particular problem. Now, I will try to address that problem through differentiated instructions. Kaya, during assessment, dapat teacher-made. Agree ako actually dito na teacher-made dapat yung mga assessments. Ang problem, dinagdagan ninyo eh. Yung original na quarterly assessment na isang beses lang sa bawat quarter, naging 3 beses na ngayon. And you cannot call this as not high stakes. This is high stakes. Kasi it constitutes 30% of the learner's grade. In the absence, if the student fails the 30%, automatic bagsak ang bata. Hindi ba nila yun na-understand? Hindi ba nila yun na-conceptualize? I don't know how they... Pag bumagsak yung bata sa first summative test at nagkaroon ng remediation, mahihirapan yan siyang bawiin sa second summative test. Kasi limited lang. Binanggit nyo talaga na isang summative test after the first term, after the first 15 days, isa na namang summative test after the second 15th day, and then isang term examination at the end of the term wherein all of the competencies will be assessed doon sa term examination. Kapag bumagsak ang bata sa summative test, mahihirapan yan siyang habulin yung 30%. Mahihirapan yan. Hindi yan madali. High stakes yan. At kapag bumagsak siya sa 30% na yan, anong maiiwan sa possible grade niya sa written words and performance task kahit pa-perfect niya? 70 lang yung maximum na possibility niya. Sabihin na natin, nakakuha siya ng 10% doon. Bakit? Mapaperfect ba talaga ng bata yung written words at performance tasks? Especially now that you have raised the bar that all raw scores of 70 will now be equal to 75 na hanggang ngayon hindi ko pa rin maintindihan ano ang statistical method na ginamit ninyo in identifying the different ranges between the raw scores in tabulating it to the final score, final grade. Maawa naman sana sila. Tapos sasabihin nila, mas madali na ngayon. Kasi noon, 4 na beses ang quarterly assessment, ngayon 3 na lang. Paano nyo binilang? 3 plus 3 plus 3 is 9. Yun yung first. Pangilan ko na yun. Pangalawa o pangatlo ko na yung diniscuss ngayon. Binanggit din kanina, yung the number of test items for the term examination. Sa key stage 1 daw, wala. Kindergarten, wala. Wala silang exam. Walang quarterly assessment ng kindergarten. Yung key stage 2 naman, grade 1 to grade 3, teacher determined. Yung teacher ang magde-decide kung magbibigay ba siya ng term examination. So kung sabihin ng teacher na, pwede naman siguro mag-activity na lang ako wherein I can find different ways on identifying if the learner did manifest the required competencies for this particular term, then okay. Yun yung key stage 1 from grade 1 to grade 3. Pero pagdating sa key stage 2, 40 items talaga, grade 4 to grade 6, 40 items yung term examinations. Kaya ako sinabi kanina na yung condition na sinabi nila that the summative test should not be greater than half of the term examination, and therefore, maximum na summative test is 20. So 20 plus 20 kasi dalawang ST is 40 plus the term examination of 40 items that is already predetermined, that's 80 items test. And remember, kapag darating na tayo sa 27-2028 na school year, wherein we will be implementing fully the zero-based grading system, for every 10-item test, hindi po pwede na 9 parati ang score ng bata. Dapat mag-perfect din siya ng 10. Kasi 9 over 10 is only 90. So, ibig sabihin nun, hindi siya magiging honor. Kung gusto maging honor ng bata, perfect dapat siya parati. Kapag mayroong 10-item test. Kasi 9, kung 20, 18 ang score ng bata, 18 over 20, that's still 90. Hindi pa rin siya magiging honor. Ano ba ang passing grade sa 10-item test? 8. 8 ang passing, not 7. Kapag magsi-zero-based ka na. So sa 80-item test, kasi 80 items yun sa lahat, 20 na summative test, first summative test, 20 na second summative test, and 40 na summative test. Kung hahabulin ng bata ang 75% dyan, magkakahirap-hirap yung bata. Kasi kailangan niya makakuha ng 16 sa 20 items. 16. Wala namang 15.5, di ba? 15 ba? 15. 15. 15 sa 20 item test. So, ang hirap nun. We're asking too much for our learners. Hindi ba rin ba nila na-realize? Another point. Move na ako sa second point, ha? At another point na to, ha? Yung bagong tabulation na nila, na 70 is equivalent to 75 sa tabulation, that is actually, sa original ng DepEd Order number 8, nasa 79 niya na grade. 70 is equivalent to 79 if I'm not mistaken. So, ibig sabihin, lahat ng mga bata natin ngayon na may gradong 79 pababa, bagsak yun sila sa grading system na zero-based. So, ilan ang mga bata natin ngayon? Nagkaroon ba sila ng analysis? Para kahit just a ballpark. Nakikita naman yan sa LIS eh. Nire-record ng mga teachers every end of the school year ang GPA, ang final grade ng mga bata. Ilan ang mga batang mayroong grade na 79 below for the school year 2025-2026? And then, pag ma-identify nila, they should immediately say na if this was a zero-based system, all of their students failed, did not attain the required competency in order for them to move to the next grade level. They are not grade level ready. Wala akong problema sa pagtaas ng standards ng quality of grading system, but do not do it abruptly. Kasi hindi makaka-adjust yung bata. A competency that is not learned or is least learned in a grade level will only pile up in the succeeding grade levels. Kahit sabihin natin that there are different aral programs, aral reading, aral mathematics, aral science, if the learner has certain difficulties, multiple unlearned competencies and least learned competencies throughout the different grade levels in the past, hindi yan makahabol sa isang taon lang. Imposible. Ipapaputol ko yung dalawang kamay ko kung magagawa yan. Imposible. And we have cases wherein sinabi mismo sa PISA, ano ba yun? 30% lang yung functionally literate sa grade 9. That means for every 10 students, 3 lang yung marunong bumasa at nakakaintindi ng binabasa niya. Grade 9. So meaning for the last 9 years, including kindergarten, all of those required competencies, hindi nila yung nakuha. And how many of them are actually piled up every end of the school year? And when they enter another school year, it's another piled up, piled up, piled up, piled up, piled up. Kasi binibaby ng system yung mga bata. If you want to make a difference, give the students accountability, a sense of accountability. Pero anong nangyari ngayon? So binanggit nila kanina, key stage 1, kindergarten to grade 3, mass promotion. I'm gonna say it, mass promotion. Bawal magbagsak sa bata sa kinder to grade 3. Basta pumapasok ang bata, walang dahilan si ma'am para bagsakin siya. Sinabi yan kanina. They have formally, for the very first time, at least and at last, hindi na mga teacher mabiblame dito. Hindi na tayo. Bakit natin pinapasa yung mga bata? Kasi sinabi na from kindergarten to grade 3, our grading system is non-punitive. Nandun yan, non-punitive. We will not be punishing them if they do not perform well academically. Instead, we try our best to remediate. But if we also still are unable to meet the required expectations by our learners, we still could not fail them. Because in the first place, we will not be awarding them academically. Yun yung dahilan, mga ma'am and sir, kung bakit walang academic award sa Key Stage 1. Because in the first place, we will not be punishing them kung babagsak sila. We can only give them awards to motivate them because of their effort, participation. Ano yung pangatlo? Hindi ko nakalimutan ko na yung pangatlo. But these are the things that were mentioned. We will be awarding them for their effort, their participation. Ano ibig sabihin ng participation? Mag-participate siya sa klase. Yung attendance, participation na rin yun. Pumasok siya eh. Kaysa naman umabsent siya. So ano yung basis ng pagbagsak sa kinder to grade 3? Kapag yung bata, nag-drop talaga, ayaw na niya pumasok, o yun, drop. Tsaka magiging retained ang bata. Pero kung pumapasok ang bata, even if they do not perform academically well by the end of the year, because there are a lot of instances na ganun talaga. At hindi natin mabiblame si teacher dyan. 40 students ang binabantayan ni teacher, 35 students, 30 students. Alam nga naman, 15, 20 ang idadaan mo sa aral. Magre-remediation ka parate, 15 students, 20 students. When in fact, alam din ng magulang, ay okay lang yan, di ka naman babagsak. Ay, posible naman sir, grabe naman may magulang na ganun. This is from experience. Take this from me. Nagkaroon kami ng voluntary reading practices para sa mga batang not grade level ready readers sa grade 3 noon. When I was still a grade 3 advisor, every Saturday, whole day, doon kami. Sino yung gustong mag-practice magbasa? Sinabihan namin yung mga magulang, papuntahin nyo dito. Kahit marunong na magaling na magbasa, kung gusto niya pumasok, papuntahin nyo dito. Pero priority namin yung nahihirapang bumasa at hindi talaga marunong magbasa. Yung mga hindi talaga marunong magbasa o nahihirapang magbasa, kinokontak namin yung mga magulang. Auntie, Nay, pwede, papasok niyo yung anak niyo Sabado. Ito kami, alas 8. Maaga para sa inyo masyado yung alas 8. Alas 9, okay lang. Nandito naman kami alas 8. Hanggang alas 12. Kung kailangan pa nating mag-extend ng hapon, extend tayo. Pero kung hindi na, mas mabuti. Para ibang na naman yung ibibigyan natin ng lesson pagkahapon. May mga ganun. O diba, ang ganda. Initiative, voluntary yan. Walang service credit. Kasi yung teacher mismo, kami mismo yung initiative yun initiative eh. Sabi nito, maganda to, sige, gawin natin. Ngayon, may estudyante hindi na pumapasok. This particular student, she cannot read. She can identify letters, but she cannot identify letter sounds. So, syempre, nung ilang beses na siyang hindi bumabalik sa Sabado, inausap namin yung magulang. During weekdays, during classes, pinapunta namin. Alam mo sagot ng magulang? Ito sabi ng magulang. Sa Bisaya ha? Verbatim. Verbatim, ito sinabi niya. Sir, ma'am, okay lang. Ako bitaw. Ikuwang naman ko, kukulong baso, ama ko na unsa. Sa Tagalog pa, Sir, ma'am, sige lang, okay lang. Ako, matanda na ako, hindi naman ako na kahit di ako marunong bumasa. Wala daw masamang nangyari sa kanya. O, Susie? May mga ganun na magulang. Hindi mo pwedeng sabihin na mawawal, na you can still motivate the students. No, there are students who actually are motivated by academic performances through numerative and extrinsic awards. Yung sinabi niyo kanina na masyadong nakafocus tayo sa extrinsic na mga factors, yung mga awarding. Why? Reward and punishment. That is the essence of being human. If you do good things come to you. If you do bad things come to you. Accountability ang tawag doon. And there's nothing wrong with that. Mas maganda matutunan na yan ng mga bata at the very young age. And you're going to stop that? You're going to deprive that? Why? For what reason? Why are we trying to remove that idea sa mga bata? Ano mangyayari? Tingin nila sa mundo, they can do anything they want. They will not get punished. There's no accountability at a very young age. Akala ko ba formative years ang importante sa education? And what are we trying to teach them right now? What are we trying to impart to our students at a very young age in Key Stage 1? But that for as long as they can just go inside the classroom, they just enter the classroom, go there, participate every now and then, even if they do not understand the lesson, even if they fail the quizzes and exams, it's okay. I'm still going to pass. Asa na accountability dun? We are motivated by extrinsic factors. Why did we go to school? Bakit tayo nangarap? Why did we want to finish college? Extrinsic yun. Because we want to be well off. To be able to not just survive. We want a better life. Extrinsic yun. And we are going to deprive our students from that reality? Ano to, imaginary lahat? So no, I do not agree that we should be mass promoting our kindergarten learners to grade 3 learners. No, I do not agree to that. Pero at least ngayon, and at the very last, kayo na mismo from the central office are the ones who are saying that we are going to be mass promoting them. We are. Yung AI use, I don't want to talk about it. Okay, I'm going to talk about it. There's nothing wrong in advocating for teachers to use AI. There's nothing wrong with that. By all means, use it. But the problem is, teachers use AI as if they're just talking to some other person. mas lumalaki yung risk ng hallucination ng AI. Kailangan maintindihan ng mga teachers that there is a thing called prompt engineering. Ano yung prompt engineering? It's just a technical term of telling AI or the tool what specifically are we going to ask them and what are we expecting them to provide us. Itong prompt engineering must be detailed. We cross our T's, we dot our I's. Detailed yan. Provide the AI what type of role, what are your expectations, what are the objectives, what are the processes that must be involved in the thinking process of the AI, and what are the expected outputs that will be provided according to your standards. Dapat fully detailed yan. What are the scope? What are the guardrails that AI must not violate? Kasi kung sasabihin mo na we are advocating for teachers to use AI para mag-determine ng ng tawag nito parang themes or analysis sa mga naging performances ng mga bata, or even constructing different types of assessment and then i-double check lang din ni teacher, mga ganun. Remember, kung ano lang yung binanggit mo, yun lang din yung gagawin niya. Hindi niya alam para kanino yan. Hindi niya alam sa anong quarter yan, anong mga competency yan. Ano yung mga expected outputs na kailangan gawin ng mga bata when we are assessing them. Yun, ipapatong mo yun sa kanya lahat, ibibitaw mo yun sa kanya lahat na gagawin niya. Ang ending, hindi magiging angkop ang output ng AI sa supposed na task na gagawin ni teacher. Ang tanong, gaano ba ka-well-versed si mama at si sir sa AI? Ang dami kong teachers na kilala, nahihirapan ngang mag-print. Imagine, Microsoft Word. Sir, ayaw mag-print, sir. Sir, naputol lagi, sir. Nawala lagi yung page 4, sir. Sir, bakit ito naging black and white, sir? Colored yung piniprint ko. Magkaroon muna siguro tayo ng advocacy campaign on the proper use of AI. What are the techniques? Kasi ang daming teachers na hirap pa sa Microsoft Office. Nahahack nga yung DepEd account. Diba? Nahahack yung DepEd account. Ginagamit pang phishing. Ang daming ganun. So yung grading system, kinder to grade 3, purely descriptive na. Yung nga, sinabi ko, tayo mga Pilipino, hindi tayo sanay sa mga ganyan sa mga descriptive We're into numbers. We are into numbers. Kahit sabihin na natin, maganda yung advancing, ano pa yun? Mga bagong-bagong descriptions nila, connecting, emerging, sa grade 1 to grade 3. Ba yan? Ba't natin gagawin ganun? Kasi para child-friendly. Bakit yung bata? Titingnan ba niya yan? Maiintindihan ba yan ng bata? Maiintindihan ng bata yung number. At marirealize ng bata, ay, 78 lang ako. Kailangan ko magsikap para maging 80 ako. Yung kaklase ko 90. Ano ba kaya ginagawa niya? Bakit siya nag-90? Tanungin niya si ma'am, si mama. Ma, si Raymond ma, 90 good siya sa exam, ako 84 lang. Baka nag-study yun si Raymond, kaya siya nakakuha ng 90. O di yung bata, ano sa gagawin niya? Mag-study din ako para pareho kami ni Raymond na maging 90. Ngayon, ginawa mong emerging. Emerging ka? Emerging din ako, yay! Kalokohan. Titinan ko yung mga notes ko. May mga notes ako kanina. Wait lang. Yung zero base na discuss ko na. Panggit ko na yan kanina. Yung adjusted transmutation table nila. At next school year, magsi-zero base na tayo. Ay. Oo. Of course, kasi sa grade 1 to grade 3, magiging descriptive na bago na ang SF9. Grade 4 to grade 10, bago na rin yung SF9 kasi tri-term na. Bago na naman. So, alam ko may mga schools na nag-a-advance ng pag-purchase, no? Ng mga forms. Kasi kapag in bulk yung pag-purchase, mas mura. Ayun, hindi na nila yun magagamit. Ano yun? Ano mangyari dun? Sayang lang. Yun magagamit. O syempre, bago na rin yung SF10. Alam mo yun? Parang 2 years ago, binago nila yung SF10. Tapos binawi nila kasi huwag na lang munang i-implement. Yung mga hindi pa nakapag-implement, pwede sila next year na mag-implement. So, that was 2025-2026. So, yung bagong SF10 na fully implemented na last school year. O ngayon, kasi may bago na namang tri-term, o yung bagong SF10, babaguhin na naman. Anong tawag sa ganitong practice? Indecisiveness. May mga ganito naman pala kayong plano eh. Bakit mo natin binago yung SF10 previously? Hindi na lang sana. So, ang tanong ngayon, itong planong ito, matagal na bang talagang pinaplansya o bigla lang ginawa? Kasi, there's a conflict eh. You wanted to change the SF10. The SF10 is a permanent record. Learners, permanent record. Permanent nga eh. Permanent. Ano ba ibig sabihin ng permanent? Hindi na babago. O ngayon, binago ninyo 2 years ago. Ngayon, binago nyo na naman. Babaguhin nyo na naman. You were so, parang, what's the right term? You were so without reservation when you said, we already have dedicated teams in revising the school forms. So ano pala yung nag-revise ng SF10 before? Hindi dedicated? Baka nga talaga itong planong ito is abrupt. Kaya sinasabi ko talaga noon eh, it seems like this move, this so-called reform, was only driven because of EDCOM 2. Yung EDCOM 2 report. Ang daming palpak nun sa EDCOM 2 report. Sarap himayin eh. Sarap himayin. Sa grading system pa lang dun, yung tinawag nilang dilulo. Dilulo ka dyan. Yung interviewer, yung dilulo. Dami daw mga school forms. 10 lang yung school form. SF1 to SF10. All other forms are initiatives. Initiatives nino. It's either initiative ng school, initiative ng division, initiative ng district, or initiative ng region. Pero yung legally mandated ng DepEd Central Office, 10 lang. Manual pa daw yung pag-compute ng grades. 2015 pa ginawa namin yung electronic class record. Lintik na EDCOM 2 report yan. Political masyado. Balik tayo dun sa promotion. Yung promotion, sabi nila, mass promotion sa kinder to grade 3. Pagdating sa grade 4 to grade 6, grade 7 to grade 10, grade 11 and grade 12, implement parang inulit lang yung sinabi na maximum of 2 learning areas ang pwedeng mabagsak ang bata. Kapag bagsak siya sa isa o dalawa, magkakaroon ng summer. Kapag bumagsak pa rin siya sa summer, they are still allowed to move to the next grade level provided that they will have interventions for the competencies that they did not achieve during the summer. Oh, so ano na yan? Bagong competency ng bagong grade level plus yung old competency ng binagsak niyang grade level, magsama na yung dalawa, dagdagan yung kailangan pag-aralan ng bata sa isang school year. Anong tawag doon? Overload. Overload. Ang tanong, sino magtuturo dito? Who's going to teach the so-called unlearned competency ng bata kasi bumagsak sa summer? Sino magtuturo? Sa aral yun? Hindi yun binanggit kanina. Sa aral yun. It was not said na ang aral program teachers who were actually daw will be tutors that are not public school teachers na. So, outsource na gagawing in-source. O so, sino? Wala, di binanggit kanina. Ang ending niyan, si teacher na naman pa rin magtuturo niyan. Tapos sasabihin na, sige lang, okay lang, ika-count naman yan sa teaching load niya. Tapos pwede naman siya mag-apply ng ano niya ni, ng service credit niya ni, tsaka overtime pay eh. Baka may gustong mag-PM dyan. Sino sa inyo nakatanggap na ng overtime pay, tsaka service credit dahil sa pagkakaroon ng overload teaching? Sa dinami-dami ng requirements para mag-apply lang yan. Imagine, yung teacher mawawala ng gana mag-apply. Kaya ang ending niyan, TY. Thank you. O so yun yung mangyayari sa bata. Pag magsak siya sa end of the school year, basta isa or dalawa, magsa-summer siya. Pag pumasa siya sa summer, hindi na siya magkakaroon ng intervention para doon sa pinagsak niya. Pero kung bumagsak siya sa isa or dalawa pa rin sa summer, makakapasok siya sa next grade level, pero magkakaroon ng intervention sa kanya during the time na nasa second or next grade level niya, sa new grade level niya. So, madadagdagan yung competencies na kailangan niyang pag-aralan. So, mag-aaral program pa siya, mag-aaral math, aral science, aral reading, kasi hindi naman talaga yan babagsak kung hindi yan, kung competent yan sa English, math, tsaka reading eh. Malabo yung bumagsak. So, malamang sa malamang, bumagsak yan siya dun. O di magkakaroon siya ng dagdag na competencies na kailangan niyang matutunan aside from the supposed new competencies that he must learn in the new grade level. Yung kukunti pa lang nga, yung competencies sa previous grade level, bumagsak na siya. Ngayon sa new grade level, madadagdagan na. Tingin niyo, pop. Ewan ko pa paano yan papasa. Papasa yan. Sa awa na lang ng teacher. Si teacher na lang. Teacher factor na yan. Diyan na mangyayari yung humanitarian aspect ni Mama tsaka ni Sir Luuyan. Ani mo dong, ito, ka naman masyado, eh. Sino ako na bahala sa iyo, Basta try mo lang ha sa bahay nyo, mag-practice ka lang ha. Kasi maawa na yung teacher, makita na niya na nahihirapan na yung bata. Umuwi na yung mga classmate niya, siya naiwan pa. Baka ito pa maging dahilan na mag-stop na yung bata. So, yung teacher, sige, sa bahay mo na lang to. Assignment mo na lang to ha. Maawa mo yung teacher. O so, paano ngayon? Kung ang bata bumagsak ng isa or dalawa, hindi nag-summer. O yun, retain talaga yun. Retain yun. Klaro na yun. Walang pagdadalawang isip. Same pa rin. Ang hindi nabanggit kanina, paano kung bumagsak siya ng isang subject, hindi siya core subject. Sabihin natin, bumagsak siya sa Aralpan. Bumagsak siya sa EPP. Ano yun? Magsa-summer pa rin? At kung magsa-summer siya, hindi siya pumasok sa summer, what I mean is, kung dapat siyang mag-summer pero hindi siya pumasok ng summer, dahil ayaw niyang pumasok namang summer ng EPP or Aralpan, does that mean i-retain natin siya sa the same grade level? Talaga? Paano yun? And what if bumagsak siya ng araling panlipunan, pero yung grades niya sa ibang subject, 85, 86, 87, yung Aralpan niya 74 ang final grade, or 73, 72, nahila. Nahila yung grade niya, yung final grade niya. Magsa-summer pa rin ba yun? Kahit yung final grade niya is 78? Yung binanggit kanina. Yung awards and recognition, yun nga, kinder to grade 3, yung award ninyo, yun lang, for participation lang yun. Mga awards niyo sa bata, wala nang academic reward, puro na for participation, or best in learning area, pwede yung ganon. Uy, best in math! Pero hindi ka, wala kang academic award ha, best in math ka lang. Saka na yung kaklase niya, bakit siya best in math? Pareho lang kami matalino sa math. Sa akin, may siya nagkakopya ng math. Walang specific basis. Sabi ni teacher na, hindi, ikaw man yung best in science. Ano naman yun, hati na lang kayo. Tinanggal nga yung accountability. Ay nako. Grades 4 to grades 10, hanggang grade 12 yata, same pa rin yung awarding system niya. Yun lang talaga sa grade 1 to grade 3. Ay, nako. Hirap mong intindihin minsan left end. Hirap mong mahalin. Ay. Overall, limited masyado yung kanina, yung orientation kanina. We were unable to provide our honest opinion. Walang problema sa reform. I'm an advocate of reform. I'm an advocate of innovation. I'm an advocate of change. Pero hindi po pwede abrupt. Hindi po pwede na yung mga driving mechanisms why we do the changes, why we innovate are not grounded on who will be benefiting the most of the so-called innovations, reforms, or changes that we are trying to implement in our agency. Ako dalawa lang. for me, there are only two entities na importante. First, the students. Second, the teachers. Yung dalawa. If our reform, the advocacy of the reform is for the learners, let us look how will it affect our teachers. Baka si teacher na naman yung mabibigatan. Si teacher na naman yung maiipit. Kung yung advocacy para sa teacher, maapektuhan ba yung mga bata? Mababawasan ba yung contact time nila sa kanilang guro? Kasi the teachers are the most effective visual aid. Sila ang pinaka-effective na visual aid. Yung sinasabi nila, i-engage yung use of ICT. Sa panahon na nag-emerge ang galing ng computers, ang galing ng mga tao with automation, sa panahon na nagkaroon na ng napakalaking leap towards high-tech na pamamaraan sa pagtuturo, bumaba naman yung kalidad ng mga estudyante. Merong correlation. There is a correlation. Our literacy index in the past, wherein teachers did not use computers, Britimax lang, Cartolina, Manila paper lang, minsan blackboard lang, kukopyahin pa ni teacher yung ituturo niya, kukopyahin din ng mga bata. Sa old school of thought, ang taas ng literacy index ng mga bata compared sa mga bata ngayon. Kung kailan naging automatic, naging high-tech, naging AI, naging engage ang mga bata sa cellphone at saka sa computer and multimedia, bumaba naman yung literacy index. So obviously there is a correlation. Hindi ba yun ng ating mga education experts? Hindi ba sila ma-trigger doon? Bakit ganun? Kung kailan mas naging madali ang access sa pagkatuto, bumaba naman yung mga natutunan. Baka yun, merong correlation. I am not saying there's a causation. Iba yun ha. Iba ang causal sa correlative. Iba yun. I'm not saying that the cause of the decline in our literacy index is because of high-tech, computers, cell phones. No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying there's a relationship. Obviously, there is. Kasi nung nag-emerge ang mga multimedia tools na ito in the early 2000s, saka naman dahan-dahang bumaba yung literacy index natin. There's a correlation, obviously. However, walang study that actually focuses on the causation. Baka kailangan natin yung tingnan. So these are things na sana yun yung natin. Tingnan natin. Kasi yung mga bata natin ngayon immersed masyado sa mga different multimedia instruments that are available within reach. Obviously, there's a correlation to that. At hindi po pwede na sabihin natin, baka gamitin natin. Use the same tools na nakaka-engage sa kanila in learning. No. Maraming studies na actually shows na the more engaged sa computers, the more nag-decline ang literacy index. Marami yan sa US. And most of the time, pinapattern natin ang ating education system sa US. I think I'm already in my... How many minutes am I already? An hour already. So, I'm gonna end it here. Kapatid ko sa pagtuturo, mga kapuso, kapamilya, kaguro. So, sorry if I said things na maybe ano, cross the line in one way or another. But as I said, I've always wanted to be someone that you can trust. Na I will speak the truth, my truth, my truth. I will speak out to it. May tumatawag. Oh, it's my brother. Later na bro. Matawag yung kapatid ko. So I will try to speak my truths and hopefully na ma-inspire din kayo to see the same point of view, same perspective on how I approach and how I look at policies na ilalabas ng ating agencies. I am not against any policy reform. No, of course not. I'm an advocate of change. I'm an advocate of reform. If and only if and only if tinitingnan niya ang kapakanan ng guro at ng mga bata ng totoo. Kasi po, naniniwala po ako, I've said this before, na kung ang kabataan ang pag-asa ng ating bayan, ang mga guro ang pag-asa ng ating mga kabataan. Maraming salamat po sa pakikinig ngayong gabi. Karoon po sana kayo ng magandang weekend. Have a good night's sleep and have a wonderful rest for the next few weeks siguro kasi you still have your time in your vacation. Ako, I don't have vacation. This is Sir Wes of ISF Media, your teacher-friendly Facebook vlogger who's been here with you since 2015. Maraming salamat po at magandang gabi sa inyo.